Good evening. The Who's today in Sydney were on at Rosehill. First day of winter. It wasn't cold, but very few punters there. Gee whiz, there was a very sparse crowd. Plenty, I think there might have been that's in the betting ring, of course, in the marketplace. They wouldn't punt. They don't know what the marketplace is these days, punters. It must be the best steam tugs of all times. Fancy betting, taking unders all the time with these corporates and the TAB and their under the odds, fixed odds. As I've said before, they're fixed all right. Um, we bet with bad losing figures out there in some races today. Towards the end of the day, there was a little bit of percentage on the board, but no one was really betting. It laid a couple in the market, but anyway, we'll say a few things about today's meeting. Today the track was slow. Started off as a slow 6 or 7. They upgraded it to a dead 5 after the 5th race or after the 6th race. And early in the day there was a bit of a nor'wester blowing, which could have been against the leaders in the first couple of races. Then it eased. And we had for the last race we had light rain. It didn't have any effect on the track. It was only light. Anyway, the rail was 3 metres out. The first race, they said there was 107 on the screen. Well, I reckon there was less than 100. For a start, Relaxed and Happy went from $3.60 out to $4.80. Very hard to lay. Neudart, similar, didn't have a price. It went from $5 out to $8. Emblems, they took $13 late. It started 12, hard to get. Destiny's Rising went from 14 out to 17. Triple Fortune, $15 given, started about 13. Darcywood, the favourite, started 2.80. $3 was given. You wouldn't see that in the outside on the flux. 101 the next run of Messiah's Duel, and Red Dynamite, $9 given about Red Dynamite, started $7, very hard to get, and going straight to the lead was Relaxed and Happy, and it ran along really fast with Red Dynamite on its outside, making sure it kept on going, and it finished up. It stayed close to the fence. Now, close to the fence here today was obviously not the place to be. In the distance race, we'll get to that later, possibly the winner and the first and second they were on the fence. The distance race is a little bit different, as we all know. But in the sprints, if you stayed close to the fence, you couldn't win. And Relaxed and Happy, as I say, led on the fence in the first race. It finished up dropping out and running last, beaten 7.5 lengths. And it dead heated for the runner that took it on for second last position, beaten 5.5 lengths, Red Dynamite, but at least it was one off the fence. Who won the race? Emblems. It sat in a cosy third position looking at the leaders, got to the middle of the track turning for home, after turning for home, and that was the place to be. It held on, beat the stablemate Neudart, who had to switch back to the inside, made up plenty of ground. The favourite came off the winner's back, couldn't get past it. The margins were half a length by 0.6 of a length, 0.5 by 0.6. The winner got a good run, and that's what won it. The second race, this winner led all the way. Brilliant Terror. It drew the outside marble. It had barrier 10, jumped, went straight to the lead, but stayed off the fence, especially coming to the turn. And when they turned for home, he was a good 3, if not 4 off the fence, and he kept that course even a little bit wider in the straight. Sitting 3 wide in this race was the second horse, Estonia Princess, very well backed, $13 into $12, but doesn't seem to be affirmed a lot, but there was plenty of money for it. I laid it well. It sat 3 wide in the run, and it stuck on very well. The runner that I suppose looking at the race, should have won the race was the third place getter, She's Bella, trained by Gay. It led early. I think most probably the instructions were from Gay that not to lead here. She might have seen what direction the wind was blowing, and ridden by Miss Zay Collette. It was eased in behind runners in the 1-1 position, but sitting on its outside in the three wide, keeping it in the pocket, was Estonian Princess. The favourite, who was sensationally back moderate, it went up a $2.50 chance, got out to as much as $2.90, but it was only a 5 to 4 chance when they jumped. Very, very well backed. And it got into the three wide, it had a lovely run behind the pace, got into the three wide mark, running on Estonian Princess's back, turning for home. It was very disappointing. While this was happening, of course, She's Bella was held up. It had to ease and hook around their heels and finish better than them. It appears to be only very small little filly, and but she did find the line well, and with clear running, I think she would have got the biscuits. She opened up a $4.20 chance, got out to $5. The winner, they took $13 or $14 late about the winner, Brilliant Terror, and as I say, it led and did fight on very well. The favourite for the run that it had in that race was very disappointing, and the other runner, of course, I suppose looking at the first race, it had a lot to do with it. That the fence, the pros most probably said, no, the fence is not the place to be here, and the top weight here, Amavotio, it was $4 out to $5.50, begging at the finish. It didn't have a price. It had barrier 1 and finished close to the fence. It was only beaten 1.9 lengths, and that wasn't the place to be. Race 3, go back to that race. They said there was 103.9 on the screen, but there was only 98% in the marketplace. In the third race, they said there was 105 on the screen. Might have only been 2 less in the marketplace, about 103. And look, this winner, Belle de Coeur, it was a very, very good win. This is a very nice racehorse. It's only had the 4 starts. It's had 3. It's won its last 3 now. Its win at Kembla last start was extremely good. It was second last or last on the fence, turning for home, which wasn't the place to be, and it just weaved in between runners and won very well down there. And it proved it wasn't a fluke, because today it was nearly a replica. It settled down last on the fence, ridden by, I've had how many blokes or punters during the last couple of weeks tell me, oh, she's riding so bad, Killer Cat. Well, Killer Cat got the double today. She was on board this winner, Belle de Coeur, and as I say, very similar to its win at Kembla. It was last on the fence, and when they turned for home, Killer Cat just weaved between runners, and she got held up at a vital stage. There was another runner in this race, of course, going for the same run at the same time, and that was Rebel Dancer. And Killer Cat beat Robert Thompson to the gap, but she still lost plenty of momentum, the winner, and it wasn't entitled to pick itself up, well, not that it was badly checked, but losing all of its momentum, it wasn't entitled to get through as easy when the split did come and go away and win by 2.8 lengths. It wasn't entitled to do that, but it did, proving this horse is a very good horse. And as I say, it went for the same run at the same time, Rebel Dancer. It should have ran a clear second. It got stopped and lost all of its momentum. I don't think it would have beaten the winner, but it might have only been a length and a half behind it. The winner, at one stage, they killed you for the $9, the 8 to 1 about the winner, but it got back out to start $10 at the finish, Belle de Coeur. Who started favourite in this race? Well, the betting was fairly wide. We did give 15 to 4 or $4.80 the field, and that was Gullible starting favourite. it opened up $4 equal favourite um, with She's a Stalker. She's a Stalker was fairly hard to lay, $4 out to $5.50, whereas Gullible got out to 4.80, but was back into $4.20 at one stage, but got back out to start the 4.60, even might have been 4.80 at the finish. They did back plenty of runners in this race. It was a little bit workable. As I say, back plenty of runners. Number one was fairly hard to lay, but and the winner was well backed at one stage at $9, starting 10. If you went off at the $10 or the $9, I suppose you could have easily lost on the race. Nice horse, the winner. Race 4, they said there was only 100.1 on the screen, the even 100, only a couple less in the marketplace, about 98%, and I gave like a fool $5.50 about the winner towards the end of betting. It got a cosy run. Going back to race 3, there's nothing I'd say about runners in the run. As I say, the winner came from second last. The others seem to have their chance, except Rebel Dancer. Race 4, this winner got a nice cosy run. It went straight to the lead. McClintock, early in the piece, it was on its outside Hossamore, but then McClintock, it took off, as it generally does, exactly like it did last start at Hawkesbury. And at one stage, it was a good 4, if not 5 lengths clear after passing the 600-metre mark, and about 4 lengths clear turning for home. It did stop fairly quickly. It ran second last, beaten 9.3 lengths. As I say, Hossamore, well, it finished up running last, Hossamore. Very, very disappointing. It was beaten 11.5 lengths. But looking at the pair, close to the fence, but getting off after turn, just towards the turn, and then steering a wider course down the straight, was the winner, Hidden Warrior. It held on and beat Nocturnal, who came from midfield off the fence by 1.3 lengths. The winner was going nowhere at the finish, but still was never going to get beat after it had got past the weakening leaders after they turned for home, setting up a huge break. It was the betting. There was no betting at the 200-metre mark. You could see that nothing was going to catch the winner. And the sensationally backed Sedcom, who came from last position, came down the outside, beaten 2.1. It was $5 into $3.40. $5 into $3.40, 4s to 5 to 2 was Sedcom. And as I say, it made up plenty of ground, but was never, ever going to win. The winner got the cosy run, and it's easy now. It was always going to get that sort of run, I suppose, on everybody's map. In race 5, they said there was 100.3 on the screen, and there was about 3 less in the marketplace, about 97%. And I tell you, they didn't tell you they didn't miss backing this winner. The pros, they won a bucketful on this. Glamour Rock, as much as I think $51 was given about this runner. They took that up fairly quickly. They killed you for the 40s and the 30s, and then it was $26 hard to get, but then that disappeared if you had the $26 up. I did later $21 towards the end of betting. It was $21 into starting around about $19 or $18. And ridden by Killer Kath O'Hara, giving her a double, it drew out at a wideish marble, and when they jumped, she got to the lead so easily on Miss Reddy. And when she got there, she was able to, she went to the fence, but maybe two off, one off. And when she got there, she was able to let this runner come straight back underneath her, and it was absolutely coasting in front. It was 2 off the fence, And when she turned for home, the runner that was looking at her was um, Glad You Called, who was also backed from $14 into about $10. Uh, but you could see it wasn't travelling anywhere as good as the winner, and it was about another, coming to the turn, 2 lengths back to Glad You Called, and then there was another good 2 lengths back to Mel May, who was extremely well back from $10 into $6.50, nines to 11 to 2, and it was, as I say, 3 lengths back, and then there was another 2 or 3 lengths back to Caprosa, and simply Kathy was able to let this runner stride, turning for home, and it was all over more or less on the turn. It got a good 3 or 4 lengths clear, and she sat up at the 50-metre mark and let this runner just roll to the line and win by a length. Ridden fully out, it would have won by over 2 lengths, but as I say, she sat up at the 50-metre mark and it strolled in, and she was the good 6, 7, 8 horses off the fence when she hit the line in the right part of the track. Running second, coming from midfield, inside runners, but off the fence. It drew barrier 1, but it was able to get off the fence in the straight. That was Cradle Me. It was very easy in the market. It went up a $4.40 chance and got out to as much as $7.50, coming back into $6, out to $6.50 towards the end of betting. Caprosa similarly, it never had a price. It was $5.50 Caprosa, out to $9.50, 9 to 2, out to 8.5 to 1. The next runner was extremely well back, Barramilla, and its chances were doomed when the gates opened. It missed a kick by a length, Barramilla, and it was 9 or 8 to 1 at $9 into $5. Extremely well back. It made up plenty of ground. It finished up running fifth, beaten about 4 lengths, but was never going to win. Imelda May, it was extremely well backed, as I say, from 8 to 1 into 11 to 2, $9 into $6.50. It had every possible chance. It ran second, as I said, Cradle Me, and getting a good run in second place was Glad You Called, held on to third, but beaten 2.3 lengths. The winner absolutely strolled in, and there was a good bit of section 1 on the winner. Race 6, they said there was 109.6 on the screen. This was fat, and there was 3 less in the marketplace, 106, and this was the 1800-metre race, and of course it led on the fence. Honourable Aussie never got off it. It didn't get beat that far, only about 2.1 or 2.2 lengths. Stayed close to the fence all the way, so its run was much better than it looked. I can't understand why Dwayne Dunn didn't steer a wider course, but following it on the fence was the second horse, and that was Merlin Mustang, and the winner, ridden by roving Robert Thompson, Prince of Capers, trained now by Tony McAvoy. It drew barrier 1, and it was 3 back on the fence. When they turned for home, he went around Merlin Mustang and around Winning Glory, who was sitting outside the leader, Honourable Aussie. And when they got to the line, he was able to get the bob in on the winner and nose out Merlin Mustang, who was closer to the fence. And coming from well back in the field was Elo, who copped a bit of a check in the run, and it made up a mile of ground. It was the margins in this race were 0.1 a nose by 0.2, more or less another half a head away to Elo, another couple of strides, and Elo gets the chocolates. It was fairly easy in the market, from $10 out to $15. The winner, I must admit, was a result for the captains, Prince of Capers. It was $14 out to $19. most probably a bit less on the screen, but $19 was available on the fence when they jumped. But it was a good result for the captains because there were a few runners in this race who backed. Although Firebolt number 1 went from $6.50 out to $11, Cantonese from $9 out to 11, Elo, as I said, 10 out to 15, Say No More, bookies reach for it, $5 out to as much as $8 about Say No More, but came back in and started $6.50. McNuckle was 26 to 71. Merlin Mustang, as much as $8 given, only started 7. Mauls Creek, it was $18. I think you'll find to be a lot less on the screen, but it was $18 all the way through betting Mauls Creek. Prince of Cape, as I've told you. Urali opened up $6, got out to as much as 8, started 7. Winning Glory, well backed, $17 into 12. Honourable Aussie, as much as $9 given, started 8. Savvy Dancer, it was 26 out to 51. The Offer, well backed, $16 into 11, and Don Carlos was 51 out to 81. A result for the captains. Race 7, they said there was 108.6 on the screen, and there was 103.5 about in the marketplace, maybe 5 less. And this race was won by Disciple, and similar to its stablemate Say No More in the previous race, the captains reached for Disciple, but unfortunately for the captains who did reach for it, they burnt their fingers because it was $4.60 out to $5.50, if not $6. I think I saw $6 on the fence, but it came back in to start $5, very hard to get, and very similar to its last win when the rider, I think it might have been Brendan Abdullah that day, pressed the afterburners. It accelerated very quickly, and it did exactly the same today. It was a little bit closer. When I say a little bit closer, there might have been about 5 or 6 runners behind it. It was just past midfield inside McNuckle, inside Skateboard. And when they turned for home, Mrs. A. Collette, she eased off Skateboard's heels and accelerated. The leaders in this race, Key West led and was well off the fence turning for home with the Great Snowman on its outside. And they did get along, which I suppose did help the winner, but it still rounded them up fair. You could see when it was coming, very similar to last start, that around about the furlong pole, it was the one that was going to look like winning the race, which turned out to be, it won by a length. Running second was number 8, Fireball, second favourite, very, very well backed, opened up $5, got out to as much as $6.50, if not even $7, came back in and started only around about a $5 chance, or $5.50, hard to get. It ran a very honest race. It sat in 4th position, getting a good run, looking at the leaders, but the winner was too good. A runner that made up ground in that race after copying a bit of a check was the 3rd horse, Territory. And that's about all you would say there. Then we came to the last. It's easy now. The favourite, we all knew that it had barrier 2 before the race, and it was always going to be near the fence, but that didn't deter the pros from absolutely labelling the favourite. I think they most probably returned at $1.75 or $1.70. I was $1.80 at the finish laying it, and you wouldn't see it, but as much as $2.20 was given on the fence about the favourite index linked, and but it started as I say $1.80. Best luck was only $2. The second horse in this race seemed a bit stiff. The favourite was drawn on the wrong part of the track. As I said, from barrier 2, it was always going to be hard for Father Schofield to get off the fence to outside runners unless something extremely helpful happened to him, which it didn't. And even though he finished close to the fence when they were near the line, but when they turned for home, coming from about fifth last position or sixth last position along the fence, but well off the fence, even though he was plugging away very well, you could more or less see that he was not going to get there, not only that he was only beaten 0.9 of a length. The winner, ELO, was $13 at the finish, layable. It got a good run. At one stage, it was on the outside of the second horse, Mighty Lucky, as I say, who I think should have won the race. But then Mighty Lucky finished up back on the inside of it, and was a funny ride from Thomas. He was a bit stiff. Not that he wasn't in a good position turning for home, looking at the three leaders, but when he went to ease off heels, the runner on his outside, it kept him in a pocket and he lost all of his momentum. He had to ease slightly, and then when finally trying to get clear, he was again checked, but he accelerated very quickly and raced up after losing that momentum. And while this was happening, of course, it was off the fence, Iggy Pop, and it had got through inside the leaders, who were very wide turning for home, and stayed wide in the straight, with the favourite coming up on his inside. And Mighty Lucky had got to the lead, but ducked in very badly, especially right on the post, causing interference to the eventual winner. The winner got the bob in. I suppose if the outside horse, Mighty Lucky, might have got the bob in, it was only the nose in it, there would have been a protest, and it most probably would have been upheld. The favourite running third, as I say, only beaten 0.9 of a length. It ran fourth in the race, Double Halo. It wasn't far not far off the pace, and the runner, of course, that everybody saw making up a mile of ground from well back in the field was Agent Bauer. It finished up running fifth. But as I said, there's a thing on my, I wrote something on my website, you can find it. It's about photo finishes at Rosehill. Every time you see the head on at Rosehill, when they get down close to the line, most times all of the runners shift in. And if the riders, there'll be that many runners that have lost races by shifting in towards the end of the race. They're coming down to the line, and as I said, not far after the winning post, the track turns very quickly, and as they're coming down to the line, the runners should be keeping a straight line to the winning post, but they don't. They veer in to the right, and you can get beat by not staying in the straight line by a short margin. If you would have kept the, I've got no doubt it ducked in on the rider, Double Mighty Lucky, but if he wouldn't have ducked in, he would have won for sure. But there's been plenty of cases when runners there do duck in with the horse going in, but they're not ducking in on the riders. They're just for some reason going in because that turn's looming up, and they can finish up getting beaten a short margin. Whereas if I'm rambling on here, but keep the straight line, they can win the race. Well, that was about the meeting. It wasn't the captains. If you took the favourite on in the last, and were able to get a good result and hold a bit of cash on the race where it was a very good split. Which race was it? It was Prince of Capers. You might have been able to get out, but it was a very, very tough meeting to work at. and I would say the punters finished in front of the captains today. That's about all. We'll talk to you next week. Good evening.